Time. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this session on Beyond Limits Stories that Inspire. How many of us who are here love to hear stories? If you love to hear stories, type S in the chat box. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Shomata. Yes, thank you, Sue. Yeah, we all love stories. That's possibly the reason we are here. And one of the reasons why I particularly love stories is because it's so easy to remember and they impact you profoundly, So, and these are the stories that I'll share with you, three stories that have impacted me and my life profoundly. And the way we will do is I'll read the story and then we will have a small discussion. And I think more than the story, the value may come from or equally maybe from the discussion. So feel free to share your takeaways from the story, how it applies to you. And I'll once again request you to keep your cameras on. I'll also share my perspective on the story, how it impacted me, either before or after the story. Thank you, Amit. And we will now get started. The first story is Heaven or Hell. And this was a story my father told me when I was a kid. And it kind of left an impression on me ever since. And that is what I'm going to read out. So typically, the story will be about 5 to 7 minutes. It will take me to read, and then we will have discussion for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then we'll move on to the other story. Every time I start a new story, I'll stop and start recording again. So you may need to approve it. So that is what I'll request you. So on that note, the first story, Heaven or Hell. Ravi, an insurance salesman, had lived a life of balance. His days were filled with moments of generosity and greed, kindness and deceit. One fateful day, his life came to an abrupt end, and he found himself standing at the gates of heaven. Before him stood Chitragupta, the celestial accountant, who looked at Ravi's ledger with a puzzled expression. He said, Ravi, you have an equal number of sins and virtues, and I cannot decide your fate. You can choose whether you want to go to heaven or hell. Ravi, ever the shrewd negotiator, replied, how can I even make a choice without knowing what each place is like? Can I have a tour of both? Chitragupta agreed. And they first descended to hell. Ravi was taken aback by what he saw. Hell was nothing like what he had imagined. Lavish mansions lined the street, filled with best furniture and cutlery. Finely dressed people roamed the halls, surrounded by expensive drinks and sumptuous food. But something was off. The people in hell could not enjoy the luxuries. Their hands were tied at the elbow by a piece of wood, making it impossible to bend for them to bring food or drink to their mouths. They wandered aimlessly, frustration etched on their faces, their eyes filled with anger and dissatisfaction. They were tormented by the sight of their unattainable desires, their unquenched thirst, and hunger gnawing at them. The air was thick with despair. Ravi felt a pang of grief for the souls trapped in this perpetual state of longing and frustration. The lavish surroundings only intensified their suffering, turning paradise into a cruel joke. Chitragupta then led Ravi to heaven. To Ravi's surprise, heaven looked almost identical to hell. The same opulent surroundings, the same luxurious amenities. But there was a crucial difference. The people in heaven too had their hands bound in the same manner. However, instead of succumbing to the frustration, they found a way to overcome the predicament. They picked up the food and drinks, unable to bend their hands. They served the person in front of them. A man would feed the woman in front of him, and she would do the same for him. The simple act of serving the other transformed their experience. Heaven was filled with laughter and contentment. People moved around happily, their faces radiating satisfaction. They were nourished not just by the food and drink, but by the sense of community and mutual support. Ravi felt a profound sense of peace wash over him. The stark contrast between the two realms was a powerful lesson. In hell, the people were consumed by their inability to satisfy their own desires, leading to anger and frustration. However, in heaven, the same physical limitation became a catalyst for greater good, cooperation, and happiness. Chitragupta turned to Ravi, awaiting his decision. Ravi didn't need to think twice. I choose heaven, he said with a smile. I would rather live in a place where people care for each other than in a place of selfish despair. And with a nod, Chitragupta welcomed Ravi into the heaven. Thank you, friends, for listening to this story. And I will now invite you to share your thoughts on how this landed with you. You can use the reactions button to raise your hands and share. Yes, Prasunji.
आप अपना कुछ टेक बताने वाले थे.
So my take is, so my father, as I shared, my father shared this story with me when I was a kid. And it kind of stayed with me because the message which I got from him was, as long as you take care of the other person, you will get taken care of yourself. So अपने बारे में सोचने के बजाय दूसरे के बारे में सोचो और दूसरे के भले में अपना भला हो ही जाएगा. So that was the message I got, and this kind of, I don't know if I remembered it or how it guided me through my years, but particularly when I started working for Tatas, this philosophy was very, very evident. Because the Tata philosophy was to take care of the nation, to build the nation. And in building the nation, the purpose of the business enterprise is to build the nation and to serve the people and the communities, and the profit is the byproduct rather than just go for what I can get out of this business. And further, when I worked in Marsh, they very clearly had this greater good, how can we serve not only our stakeholder, immediate customers and stakeholders, but the larger community. So this kind of clearly got reinforced during my working years with Tata and Marsh. So that's my experience with this.
Okay. So my take is it's a beautiful story. Uh, you know that I usually quote from the Bhagavad Gita, but
Yes.
I'll do it after some time. देखिए मेरी जो समझ हुई इस स्टोरी से कि हेवन और हेल तो दोनों यहीं पे हैं। ये तो
Yes.
हमको डिसाइड करना है। ये
Correct.
लाइफ हमको मिल गई, प्रकृति ने तो हमको सब कुछ दिया हुआ है, सब कुछ फ्री में है। हमको जो भी चाहिए जीने के लिए सब कुछ फ्री में है। सांस के लिए ऑक्सीजन फ्री है,
Yeah.
खाने के लिए प्रकृति ने इतना कुछ दिया है, सब कुछ फ्री है।
Yeah.
बट बिकॉज ऑफ जो आपने उसमें एक वर्ड यूज किया था, डिजायर। ओके, बिकॉज ऑफ दोज डिजायर्स हम लोग क्या करते हैं कि उसको हेल बना लेते हैं जो हेवन ऑलरेडी है।
Correct.
तो मुझे भगवत गीता के दूसरे अध्याय का, इनफैक्ट दीपन ने भी उसने लिखा था, मैंने कहा चलो ये दिस रिवर्बरेट्स विथ मी। 62वां और 63वां श्लोक है जो कि स्थित प्रज्ञा जो डिफाइन कर रहे हैं भगवान, वहां पे उन्होंने बोला। तो वो क्या है श्लोक में पहले सुनाता हूँ, फिर मैं बताता हूँ कि हाउ इट रिवर्बरेट्स विथ मी। ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसः संगस्तेषुपजायते, संगात् संजायते कामः, कामात् क्रोधो विजायते, क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः, सम्मोहात् स्मृतिविभ्रमः, स्मृतिभ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशः, बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति। So he says कि ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसः, when I am too much thinking about a subject, विषय, about an object of desire, then what happens is ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसः संगस्तेषु उपजायते, I get attached to it, संग, attachment, संग उपजायते, संग, I get attached to it. Sangat sanjayate kamaha, and once I get attached to it, I get the desire to possess it. And if it happens, nothing like it. But if it does not happen, sangat sanjayate kamaha, kamat krodho bijayate. So if my desire remains unfulfilled, it leads to anger.
Yeah.
क्रोधात भवति सम्मोहः, and जब ये क्रोध होता है तब सम्मोह होता है, I get deluded.
Yeah.
सम्मोहात स्मृति विभ्रमः, मेरी मेमोरी का लॉस हो जाता है।
Yeah. Yeah.
स्मृति भ्रंशात बुद्धि नाशः, and then I lose my intellect, what is right, what is wrong, I lose that intellect. And then buddhi nashat pranashyati, and I fall down in my life. And that is the, मेरा पतन हो जाता है उसमें। एंड स्वामी चिन्मयानंद जी उसको डिफाइन करते हैं, 8 स्टेजेस हैं, इसको डिफाइन करते हैं द लैडर ऑफ फॉल।
ब्यूटीफुल।
तो चढ़ने में तो बहुत टाइम लगता है। तो जैसे हेवन में जो था, टू एक्सेप्ट व्हाट इज गिवन टू अस एंड टू टेक इट विद ग्रैटिट्यूड, जैसे आप बार बार बोलते हैं ना आशीष, ग्रैटिट्यूड। तो टू टेक इट विद ग्रैटिट्यूड, whatever comes our way, we create a heaven for us.
Yeah, yeah.
But the moment it gets into that desire, and the moment I want to possess something, my way or the highway, we create the hell of our life in the same situation. परिस्थिति तो समान है सबके लिए, मगर मनस्थिति के कारण हेल है कि हेवन है, वो डिफाइन होता है। ऐसा मेरा मानना है, और ऐसा शायद भगवत गीता से मैंने सीखा।
Beautiful. I love that parasthiti and manasthiti, and the desire to have things only for myself, The desire can also be to serve others, but that desire which only serves myself is the root cause of all these challenges. Yeah. So thank you. Thank you very much for sharing that, Prasanna. And thank you. Anybody else would like to share their takeaway from this beautiful story? You can even like type in the chat wonderful, nice, or you can show love, thumbs up, anything. Yeah, before we move on to the next one. Yeah, thank you, Sue. Thank you, Shomita. Hmm. All right. So I'll just, yes, Sue. Hi.
Hi.
Yeah.
I'm not in a mode of talking too much today, but you can imagine. Just for the other people who don't know, I've just got back from a Vipassana retreat. And Prasunji, would like to thank you for sharing, a light bulb moment, as you say, aha moment for me, where you take the Gita and put it into our day-to-day way of looking at it. My thought to this story was, and coming also to what Prasanji said, if I'm in a state of gratitude, then it's very easy for me to accept things that the way they are, because I know that whatever is happening is not against me, and it's for me. There's nothing in nature which is against, it's always for. And with this faith and trust, you create your own heaven. And heaven, I'm telling you, 10 days of meditation, I could observe how my thoughts were supposed to pass by like clouds. But initially, I got into the stories of these thoughts, and to be able to get out and just see things the way they are. So this heaven and hell is also a judgment that a mind makes. You don't get to see the things the way they are. So if we keep ourselves aware of being mindful and being in the now, and really getting into the sensations of our body, you realize that our aversions and our attachments create those heaven and hell for us, if you can label it as heaven and hell. So in short, it's our own responsibility. So everything is in our hands. So that empowers me, that I can change, I can make it the way I want it. And so, yeah, the story just reminds me what I have learned through Vipassana. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Sue. Truly appreciate your sharing that. And